it one day.
Okay.
I want to rebut my learned colleague ever so briefly,
You may.
quoting his own as it's birth. When you say that Star Trek discusses the human condition, even your language excludes all other races,
Yeah.
all other beings.
Star Wars is very inclusive. You know, Yoda, R2. You know, it includes robots even.
And may I
you know,
take 10 seconds to refute that?
Yes, you may.
Okay. What was also suggested, I may have made a mistake on the human condition. What I'm saying is and it was also mentioned many times in Star Trek, is that deep down inside, I believe Kirk said it one time, deep down inside, we're all human. And I think it's more the situation where it's not necessarily, not necessarily, it's a situation where they're saying it's not necessarily as human, but as a sentient being.
May I?
But you didn't say that.
You may. Yes.
Of all the friends I've ever known, he was the most human.
But he was half human. Even the aliens were half human.
Which means that was an in-joke by Gene Roddenberry saying that wherever humans go, if you don't have warp capacity to get away, humans will breed with almost anything. If you get the joke, there are half
you're saying
humans,
humans
half
are just like
Romulans,
dogs?
Yeah.
If you
half
can't piss on it,
Klingons.
screw it.
And in Star Wars, they're all purebreds. No runts, no misfits that are truly the strong.
No, they're not all purebreds. Luke and Leia are half Nebulian and half Tatooine.
There you go.
How many bumps on their forehead do they have?
Gosh, they didn't have plastic prostheses. Oh man, that's a troubling point.
Okay. Now you guys are going to have 2 minutes to present the one central thesis about the relative strengths of Star Trek that they will then have time to refute.
Right.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
How much time? Let me think.
And
Hey, we only got an hour.
How many sentons?
We're not going to claim one is better than the other. It all depends upon how you feel. I prefer mine with maple syrup. No?
okay.
No? Okay.
I'm empty.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
I'm
Okay. Essentially, again, it's a situation where we have 40 years, essentially. You have to understand, the first Star Trek convention was back in 1975. 2 years before Star Wars. It's essentially a situation where it was...
There were earlier ones than that.
Okay.
I was there.
But the big New York one, the one that they all say at the beginning, was in 1975. So the thing,
John
essentially...
Townsley, Statler Hilton.
There you go.
I
So-
lectured at it.
He's the man. So essentially what happens is, sure, Star Trek, the thing is with Gene Roddenberry, he had to lay down the law that when anyone was doing any kind of books, anything with Star Trek, before he died, that he had to follow a certain coherence on the series. Can't say anything about after he died, of course, you know, what are you going to do after that? And it's more the grosses in the box
I don't think
office.
Gene Roddenberry had to go back and make sure that Han shot first. No, Greedo shot first. No, Kirk usually shoots last, and it doesn't have to be rewritten.
Well, in the case of Picard, he'd rather talk first rather than shoot. I mean, so essentially, as it stands, sure, you know, Star Wars is a shoot 'em up, bang bang, Western frontier town. But of course, to make the Western analogy go even further, Gene Roddenberry's wagon train to the stars.
In 1964, I believe before George Lucas was even born,
Yeah.
something like that.
Or he was a very young person, probably watching Star Trek.
Okay, so your contention is then it's a more of a meta idea. It's the cultural impact on Star of Star Trek on our culture is much larger and much earlier.
Oh, don't put
And-
words in
but
their
I'm
mouths.
not- I'm just trying to encapsulate that it came first and it has had therefore a longer time to influence.
And to
So-
say something about "May the Force be with you," how about the T-shirt in the early '70s that said "Beam me up, Scotty. There's no intelligent life here."
Okay, so you may refute.
Okay. The thing with Star Trek, though, is, and I enjoy it too, but let's be honest, that over time the concept has really degraded. Okay? Original series. To boldly go where no man has gone before. Next Generation. To boldly go all those places we went in the last series. Deep Space Nine. To boldly go and kind of stay right here. Voyager. To boldly go home. Enterprise. Where the hell are we going? Okay. Well, I was going to say, it goes further than that. Original Star Trek. Scotty. Captain, we're going to have a warp core breach. The ship's going to blow up any minute. Give me just a moment. Okay, we're fine. Okay. Next Generation, Geordi LaForge. Captain, we've got a warp core breach, so I'm going to do the patented Geordi LaForge tuck and roll under the blast doors and get my ass to a shuttlecraft, because we're, let's be honest, the concept is gradually degraded over time. Whereas with, Star Wars, one grand story. Gotta love it. I mean, So.
Excuse me.
I was gonna go a completely different direction on that one, but you were good. I'm sorry. I was gonna say first doesn't necessarily equate to best, and yes, indeed, Star Trek came first, and Star Trek went through 2 seasons, and then, well, they were gonna cancel it, and several thousand fans said, "Hey, no, we want more Star Trek," and they got their 3rd season, and Star Wars came out, and several million people went to the theaters to see it. We're talking a different order of magnitude here. In terms of direct first-generation impact.
Yeah. We're talking Enterprise, Death Star. Enterprise, Death Star. Yeah.
Is this directly pertinent to
Millennium
what we're talking
Falcon,
about?
for that matter.
Okay.
Regarding what he says about the engineering charades and scares. Arthur, you're trying to repair the hyperdrive. We're having a crisis and you've got delusions of grandeur.
Yeah.
But R2 succeeds.
Do you have a rebuttal?
Star Trek 66, Star Wars 77. You would argue that as the culture degrades over time, the essential message of Star Trek has to be dialed back for those people fed on Star Wars who are not going to really get the subtleties of Star Trek.
And actually, okay, now we're talking a symbiotic relationship. Star Wars came out in '77. Okay. Star Trek Wrath of Khan. Star Wars came out in '77. You had groundbreaking special effects. That's, I think, what wowed everybody. Okay, Star Trek had not that well special effects. '66, as good as they could at the time. Of course, back in 1982, when they did Wrath of Khan, gee, I wonder who did it. ILM. So, if anything, Lucas at the time really didn't have anything going on except that Return of the Jedi. But if anything, he's made a heck of a lot more money off of Star Trek. Without Star Trek, he'd still be a poor man.
I'm sorry, so you're saying that Star Trek, as wonderful as it was, had to go to Star Wars in order to handle things like that?
I'm actually saying that
Jim, you're
as
ignorant slut.
And then actually,
What he's saying is George Lucas walked on the path paved by Gene Roddenberry.
and also at the same time made a lot of money off it too. What's he going to do? Comes up and says, "Oh no, I don't want to take that because I don't want to build my ranch. I don't want to make Howard the Duck."
So when you pave over the horse track and make it a 4-lane superhighway, which is more important?
Which is more?
The horse track.
Because that was there first.
No. The horse track. Because you're interacting with somebody, a horse, or your daughter riding the horse. On a 4-lane superhighway, you're just zipping around from one point to another, getting into a wreck, drunk driving, whatever. But if you're really family values, you want your horse track back. And if you're really zooming along from point A to point B, missing the scenery, you want your 4-lane superhighway.
I'm totally confused.
Oh, good. I thought it was just me.
I was going to say.
Star Trek tends to respond to itself in the next season, or even several seasons down. The Next Generation episode, Relics, where Scotty says, "Jordy, you can't tell the captain how long it's going to really take. How can you get a reputation as a miracle worker?" And big wink to the fans.
Okay, we're going to do one more between us, and then we're going to open it up for you guys' suggestions. James Kirk, Han Solo.
Oh, jeez.
Discuss.
Well, they're not equivalents. I don't think you can compare those two. Those aren't comparisons.
Then suggest a comparison.
James Kirk, Luke Skywalker.
Do you think that? Okay.
I think that's the more apt comparison.
Okay, let's do that then. James Kirk, Luke Skywalker.
James Kirk. James Kirk is the god. He's out there. He's okay. Well, to some degree, it's actually a combination of Han and Luke. But James Kirk is the guy who gets the chick and he leads the crew, and he succeeds. When the crew succeeds, it's to James Kirk's greater glory. And well, how can James Kirk get all these things done? He's got a crew of 400. He's got a ship that can do anything he wants it to. And remarkably enough, the distances between planets change when they need them to. Luke Skywalker, on the other hand, is a poor orphan boy living on a evaporator farm in the middle of a desert. But he's able to train, and he's able to work his way through with luck and with pluck and succeed in bringing about the downfall of the Galactic Empire.
And he can do it without leaving his seed all over the galaxy. While James Kirk, the intergalactic tramp,
He didn't even meet his son until start the movie.
Kirk didn't kiss his sister.
are you sure?
George Kirk and Princess Leia, which would you rather kiss?
You just sucked my line. But I have a better one.
Yes, you can now. You can
I
take.
have a better one. If you're a nerd, you identify with toppling the empire and having never gotten laid. If you have aspirations, you have aspirations to get laid at every starbase across the quadrants. Do you want to face your lonely reality, or do you want to live up to your dreams?
So Jeff, you're saying the greater good is more orgasms?
No, I can't argue with him on that.
It was about dreams versus reality. Sad reality.
So are there any ladies out there who would like to show me the error of my ways?
Sad, lonely reality that ends up wearing black leather with a constant inhaler, as opposed to the slicked backs. I'm James Kirk. You
Wearing
would
a
be my
corset
real
and a wig.
thrall.
The other thing, though, is, I mean, I'll be honest. You come to a con like this. I mean, we have the people wandering the hallways in the Star